Hello everybody, so this video is entitled MSTR crash. Here we go again with an exclamation mark, with excitement, because I'm not a trader. I'm not panicking in front of my computer doing some trades right now, like I fear some people are. You need to understand this company if you are going to be in this company. This is not a stock for traders. MSTR is a super long-term 2030 and beyond macro trade bet on the debasement of fiat and the largest owner of the next currency of the world, of the hardest money ever. And currency maybe in the 2040s. We'll see about that. So MSTR is crashing, down 10% for strategy, down 5.5% for Bitcoin. Bitcoin is at 84,400. Why is that happening? What is happening? Well, I'll tell you what's happening. The traditional markets are tanking. Tesla is down nearly 4% after a great quarter, by the way. Beating expectations, superb call, down 4% as expected, right? They're running the headlines against Tesla right now. It's working out pretty well. Everybody knows they are stopping to manufacture two vehicles. Everybody knows that. Microsoft is down 11%. So risk on stock way down. Another big risk on stock way down. Risk on is not doing well. When risk on doesn't do well, Bitcoin tanks. Bitcoin is tanking. And of course, strategy is correlated to Bitcoin. You know, historically it's been 1.5. Sometimes it's like more like a 1.1 or 1. Other times it's more like a 1.8 or 1.9 or maybe even a 2 correlation. So it seems like today we have like a 1.8-ish correlation, maybe 1.9. So we're a little bit more down than Bitcoin, but that's it. This was always the deal. If Bitcoin doesn't do well, strategy is not going to do well. If Bitcoin goes to zero, strategy goes bankrupt. That was always the deal. It's like you gotta believe in Bitcoin if you're gonna touch any of the strategy instruments. That was always the deal. Now it's unfortunate that Bitcoin is still seen as a risk-on asset, but as Bitcoiners, we have very low time preference. We can sit on our hands for decades. That's what Bitcoiners do. So the strategy owner also needs to be a Bitcoiner. Anyways. What's going on? So it's a market-wide sell-off. Let's talk about the sell-off. Well, first of all, it all started with Tesla yesterday when Tesla spooked the market because they said the word capex and they said the word future like dozens of times throughout the call, describing the future and talking about their capex. And of course, that spooked Wall Street a lot. Then Microsoft doesn't back down on the GPU talk. Microsoft talks about the backlog. Microsoft talks about how they are committed to OpenAI. Well, we'll see how that goes. You know, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe OpenAI is going to be great. It goes back and forth like the swings of a pendulum. But anyways, these GPUs are very valuable. Microsoft is investing heavily into the future. Of course, for that, Microsoft is down 11% for investing in the future. Tesla is down 4% for investing in the future. Now, Meta, on the other hand, is a different story. Meta talks about how GPU-based recommender systems are getting folks hooked even more on Instagram. Apparently, imminent addiction improvements is to be expected on Instagram because of the GPUs being so much better at recommending stuff that just gets you hooked and increased engagement. Meta up 6%. Meta is predicting something good for next quarter. That's literally the market. Additionally, you have macro fears. Shutdown looms, right, on Saturday or something. Gonna be a shutdown, probably. Yeah, again. Low consumer confidence numbers came out this morning, and then apparently Trump uttered a few words about Iran, and of course that made the top of the headlines. And because of that, we are crashing. We are risk off. JP Morgan is up. Fiat is up, right? Oil is up. Old World, Berkshire Hathaway is up. Right, but all of the rest is down. AT&T is up, right? AT&T is totally not going to be disrupted, right? I mean, we are all going to keep using cell phones and connected to cell towers, right? There's never going to be such a thing as satellites connecting for our phones. That's never going to be a thing, right? Fiber is going to be fiber is going to be good until 2050, right? There's no issues. There's no issues with $200 billion of debt until 2050 for the telcos. No issue. We're always going to use fiber, right? We're always going to use cell towers. Zero issues. Let's go. Let's make the stock go up. but the future is sold off. The future is sold off. STRD, Bitcoin, Tesla, they're being sold off. So this decline is nothing out of the ordinary. STRD is always going to do worse than Bitcoin when Bitcoin does poorly, and always going to do better than Bitcoin when Bitcoin goes well. If Bitcoin doesn't do well, MSTR can't do well either. That's always the deal with this stock. It always was the deal. For the stock to make a comeback, we need Bitcoin to make a comeback. May I remind you, Bitcoin was still 120 plus thousand in October, right? So we haven't made anywhere near a comeback on Bitcoin. STRD can't make a comeback. But when Bitcoin goes back to 120, 130, I expect STRD to outperform. We are in a little bit of a bear market. We may have been in a bear market since 2025. Since after the election, since after the inauguration, we may have been in a bear market this whole time. So it sure looks like it. So if we're in kind of a bear market, don't do leverage, don't do options. What do old Bitcoiners tell you about bear? Study Bitcoin. The bear is for studying. Or if you're a developer, the bear is for building, or it's for studying. Study Bitcoin. Don't be like a Davos central banker who still thinks the governments can just ban it, who do not understand basic laws of thermodynamics, who do not understand how many nuclear reactors fully dedicated to Bitcoin mining would be needed to just stop the Bitcoin from writing a block for 10 minutes. Right? You couldn't even steal. All you would achieve is a fork, which wouldn't be that big of a disruption to a big Bitcoin network. And to do that, you would need an ungodly amount of energy. Then even the world's greatest nations would not be possible for them to gather that energy and concentrate it in Bitcoin mining equipment to take over the network. That's called a 50% attack. Look this up and see if it's possible. If it's not possible, Bitcoin responds to the laws of thermodynamics, which it totally does, by the way, which means that it grants you security that even the strongest nation cannot grant you for your money. Even the strongest nation cannot protect your money like Bitcoin protects your money. It's built into the network. That's why we have proof of work. That's why we have enormous amounts of compute that go into securing the network. You cannot hack Bitcoin like you can hack any other type of company, any other type of IT. Bitcoin is built on the laws of thermodynamics. So study Bitcoin. Right? Don't be like a Financial Times grand reporter who thinks Bitcoin is like teeth. You may remember that was 6 months ago, right? Understand a few of the FUD right now. Understand why it's a bad idea to actually publish your addresses. Publish your addresses or sign your keys. It's a very bad idea to do that because we may have quantum one day. And if the address is public, we have quantum. Quantum could potentially reverse cryptography. Now, I don't think it's anytime soon, but we may have it. And even if we quantum-proof the protocol, which we totally will at some point, even if we were to do that, that still doesn't protect you from social engineering threat. Saylor has talked about that before. Saylor is not going to publish the addresses. Public companies use auditors. It's the same for, how do you know a public company has a bunch of cash at the bank? They don't let you look into the bank. They have an auditor confirm that the cash is there. So they use auditors, accounting firms, and also understand the ATM. I cannot believe we still have common ATM FUD out there. Still, you need to study why in August it was a major mistake when 90% of the internet told to Saylor to stop using the common ATM. We were at a 1.4, 1.5 MNAV. STRD would be much further ahead if it had kept issuing common stock when we were at 1.4, 1.5 MNAV. And in August, when I was behind them, I was always skeptical of him stopping to issue the stock at 1.4 MNAV. Now we're at 1.05 MNAV or 1.04 MNAV, and he's back doing the ATM, and he's right. Even if that's 5 cents, he's right. And now Saylor, I am very happy that he's not listening to social. He's not listening to social media. I was also very happy to see him make a U-turn and go back to the common ATM about 3 weeks later when he realized that that was a mistake from the crowd, that the crowd was being loud. Saylor is, in my view, doing a great job running this company. Unfortunately, it is the stock price often that drives the sentiment. The stock price drives the sentiment, not the other way around. And the stock price is not doing like people want. People want the reward now. The stock price not doing that, and so people are being negative. But study under the hood the company, study Bitcoin, go on a walk at a forest. Forests are nice. We're wired to enjoy nature as, great apes. So anyways, this was not investment advice. This is not financial advice. This is only entertainment. I hope you were entertained. Please like, please subscribe, follow me on Patreon, follow me on X. Thank you for watching, and have a wonderful, wonderful day.